Alrighty, so I just wanted to have sort of like a general talk, not necessarily like a full-fledged review of the game or anything like that, but I just wanted to give some thoughts and opinions on the game now that I've hit level 60. So, I'm just going to be walking around in the background, of course. But I did hit 60 a couple of days ago, and I think my overall experience with the game has been pretty positive. There's obviously a couple of things that are really annoying, definitely a couple of things that are like missing or lacking from the game, but generally I think that the game has been pretty fun. Obviously, well, not obviously, but when I very first started the game, I did have a couple of friends who I was playing the game with. It was pretty clear that after playing it a little bit, the people that I was playing with weren't, they weren't accustomed to the whole like MMO sort of grind, or just like the way that MMOs sort of play in general. So a lot of them ended up dropping off, not playing anymore. So it was basically just me and one other friend playing, which is fine. Honestly, it is what it is. Like, I didn't expect people that were playing the game that weren't used to sort of MMOs in general to really enjoy the game as much as they did, and they still do play every now and then, but it's definitely not like it was when the game first launched. So yeah, that obviously has hindered my experience a little bit, but it is what it is. But I think the main thing that kind of like bothers me about the game is that you basically have to play it with friends if you want to like actually get anywhere, or you just need like to be in a really active guild or something like that, or you just need to be around people that are willing to sort of play with you, or are willing to help you when you need it or whatever. Because there's a couple of things that I really don't like. One being the fact that there is no like duty finder or party finder or anything like that for the game. As a person who normally, as far as like MMOs goes, I normally play Final Fantasy 14, and I guess I've just been kind of spoiled by the fact that it just has a lot of really nice quality of life features. I'm sure other MMOs have it as well, but Final Fantasy 14 is really the only one that I've actually played that I have a decent amount of time in, that I could give you comparisons to, at least. So, with Final Fantasy 14, if you're trying to queue into a dungeon, you can literally just hit J on your keyboard and it'll pull up the duty finder, and then you can just queue up for a dungeon as whatever role that you're playing as. Because this game doesn't really have like actual designated roles or anything like that, there's a lot of room for error, for one. Like, I mean, if you're not like very like on top of your gear, making sure that you're like using the correct gear, like, I don't know, there's a lot of room for error, or like user error, if you don't know what you're doing, which can be a huge problem, because like it kind of sucks having to like look up what's the best build for a healer in the game like every single week, because things get patched and changed, or whatever the case may be. I don't know, things are just always evolving because the game is brand new. This is Amazon's very first game, so it's definitely got some balancing issues that they're sort of working on or working out. And I don't know, it just, that's one thing that bothers me, not being able to just instantly like find a party and stuff like that, because the parties system in the game is not like, it's server based. Like, you can't queue up with somebody from a different server, which can be a really big issue if your server's like a lot lower in players now, because of all of the players that have sort of dropped off and stopped playing. So until server merges happen, which hasn't happened as of the time of me recording this, a lot of servers have dropped populations a lot. So the fact that, there's not a lot of people on means that there's not always people willing to sort of run dungeons with you, etc. So that kind of sucks. You just have to type in the chat. Another thing that kind of sucks about dungeons is the fact that you have to have a key for them. So you have to run around basically and do these little corrupted portals, or just corruptions in different areas, so that way you can get the crafting components to craft the keys, which doesn't sound like it would be too much of an issue, but you can see like in this area, because this is actually like a level 52 to 58 area, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why it's bugged and it says 00, but these are level 65 portals, and it recommends you have a player, like a recommended player level, or a player group of 5 to take that on, because 60 is the level cap at the moment. So obviously if the enemies are 5 levels above you, they're going to be doing quite a bit of damage. So yeah, that's a thing that kind of bothers me a little bit. So yeah, if you just you basically need like a group of players at all times if you're really gonna get anywhere in the game, because like a lot of the activities are gonna require you to be, you know, with people, because you're not gonna be able to do it solo unless you're just like godlike. But couple of other things that kind of bothered me were the skills. So if I open up the skill menu and I go over to trade skills, the ones that I personally enjoy using the most are just the gathering skills. I don't know what it is about gathering in MMOs, but it's always been fun to me. This is where I'm at. Tracking and skinning was the easiest 200 of my life. I wasn't even trying to get it, just by playing the game and progressing to higher level areas. Like, I'm pretty sure I got to like 200 tracking and skinning before I hit level like 45. Like, it was very fast. And it wasn't because of anything other than, you know, the animals that you're going to be skinning and stuff like that in higher level areas just give you exponentially more XP, so it just comes naturally almost. None of the other skills are like that. Logging is the only other one that I have level 200, and it's just because I grinded it out like crazy, just because it was just something that I was working on at the time and I found to be kind of fun, because I don't know, it was just one of those things that I just kind of got sucked into, I guess. Harvesting is kind of crazy to level up. I don't know, there's probably a lot better ways to do it than what I was doing, but it was taking a really long time, and it generally like wasn't as fun. There's not nearly as much stuff to harvest, I guess, as you would hope there would be, and when there is stuff to harvest, it just doesn't give you nearly as much XP as you want it to, so it just takes forever to level up. Mining also takes quite a while, but I would say that mining is probably one of the most profitable ways to sort of like, or like one of the most profitable gathering skills, just because of like all the ingots and stuff like that. People are constantly using them in crafting and stuff like that. So I got to level 176 and I was like, oh, this is really great, because at 175 I can start mining orichalcum. But because everybody on the server that I play on is already level 60 basically, you know, everybody's already like sitting at those like orichalcum nodes just waiting for them to respawn, so that way they can make money and get orichalcum for crafting and stuff like that. So I basically have zero chance to get it unless I just stand there, which is boring, which I don't want to do. Which, I mean, it is what it is. More power to you if that's what you want to do, but for me, I would much rather just like run around like an area and mine the nodes as they pop up and do stuff while I'm there, instead of just waiting for the node to pop up, just because I don't know, just not my style. Fishing is probably the most disappointing to me, because I really liked fishing. In the beta and everything like that, fishing was a lot of fun, and I started working on it a little bit, and once the full game came out, I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to try to invest my time into. And for the most part, I did, but there was just a couple of things that sort of threw the whole thing off. One being the fact that there's a lot of bots. People are just buying bots, and they're fishing bots, of course, because fishing is actually was decently profitable. Selling fish fillets and stuff like that was actually halfway decent for money. So all of the bots were just literally fishing, which obviously brought the value of a lot of the fishing materials and stuff like that down. So it made it a lot less worth doing, which I wasn't really doing it for the money to begin with. I just kind of like fishing in a lot of MMOs. But I like having a goal, and one of the biggest problems was the fact that once you hit level 100, you can finish the last fishing quest. I mean, obviously you have to build up to it, and the fishing quests are pretty, like, I guess, spread out. Like, I think there's a 5-level difference between each of the fishing levels, but at the same time the quests are like insanely easy, so I guess it's meant to be sort of done as you're playing through the game and leveling up. But I just after I finished the last fishing quest, which the goal for the last fishing quest is to literally just reach fishing level 100. It's not reaching max level at 200, so there's not even that to work towards if you really want to. It's just once you reach level 100, you finish the last fishing quest, he gives you a legendary pole, and you're pretty much done. All of the fishing gear that's really good is mainly level 60 stuff. So I've been able to equip that now for a couple of days, but my drive to fish has just gone way down because without a goal, like without more quests to do, I don't really feel like doing it. And I don't really care that much about a lot of the legendary fish because some of them are used for cooking, which I don't care about. Some of them can be made into trophies, which I think is pretty cool, but the housing system in the game, like the housing point system, like how they rank your house, is completely broken. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like it basically, if I put a ton of time into my house and I make it look really good, it doesn't matter because somebody who bought the paid cosmetics for the house is going to get 10 times more points than I am, and it just makes it not worth doing. So that really sucks. And then the last thing was the fact that there was so many fishing bots. They ended up nerfing the treasure chest loot, and treasure chests were kind of like a fun, like rare thing that you could get from fishing, which was kind of neat. But at the same time, now there used to be gold in the fishing chest, which used to make it like really worth doing because you could actually make a decent amount of like money just doing it for fun. But because of all the bots wanting to just make money and sell the money like in game for real money, they took the gold out of fishing chests, which made it completely boring. Like there's just no advantage to fishing anymore unless you just rack up like a ton of fish oil or a ton of fish fillets and just sell them on the market, which I mean you can do that pretty easily. It is what it is, but I don't know. There was just so many things like hindering that it kind of sucked. Another thing was the builds. This build that I'm using currently right now, which is rapier and musket, or even if it's rapier and bow and arrow, are those three items, or those three weapons, are probably the most used weapons in the entire game, I would be willing to say. And because of that, I was like, oh, like I don't want to be like everybody else. I would rather run like a healer, so that way I can, be helpful to people or whatever the case may be. But because the game is very PvP oriented, they ended up nerfing the healer like 1,000 times over and just made it really unfun to play. So that really sucked. So eventually I was just like, okay, screw this. Like I can't, if I'm running around solo, it's really hard for me to do stuff because I'm a healer and I don't do a lot of damage. So it just takes forever to kill enemies. And if like a big group of enemies gets on me, then I'm basically just gonna have to run away or die. So that really, really sucked. So I was like, well, screw this. I'm just going to swap over to DPS. And so because there's not a whole lot of like actually decent choices in the game, I basically had to choose the main stuff that everybody uses because, like, I don't know, hatchet's all right. I don't know. It's just, I guess that all comes down to personal preference. Like, I think the spear is actually pretty cool. It could be actually pretty decent to use and stuff like that. But I don't know. I was having a hard time picking like decent stuff. And I know that, a lot of these things will get sort of like worked on in the future. With hello, my game just freeze. All right, cool. So yeah, there's another thing is there's a ton of bugs in the game. There are bugs everywhere in this game, and I hate to make this negative, and I know that the whole video has been kind of negative, but there's so many bugs in this game. It's actually ridiculous. Like I can't play for any extended period of time without running into some sort of bugs. My game crashed, by the way, so that's perfect timing. But I don't know, man. It's a really good game. The price point is $40. There's no subscription cost, which is really, really compelling. A lot of MMOs do subscription costs, which was another reason why I actually wanted to play this game. The combat is a little bit more hands-on. It's not just like, hey, you have 1,000 skills on the screen. You just push them when they're off cooldown, and then you're good to go. Like, I feel like the combat is a little bit more hands-on, which is kind of nice. I would say that it is the perfect filler MMO almost. Like if your main games aren't having an expansion at the moment, or you've already reached max level in whatever your main MMO is, this is a perfect game to sort of just play in the meantime until something comes out. But because I hit level 60, and I definitely was rushing to hit level 60 over the last couple of days because of Final Fantasy XIV's new expansion coming out in a couple of days, because I don't really like, if I have to choose between the two, you know, obviously Final Fantasy 14 is a lot more polished. It's not got a ton of bugs in it, and it just overall has a better feel for me. So I'll definitely come back to the game in the future. I don't think that there's anything stopping me from, like, you know, wanting to play the game or anything like that, but as it stands, I just need there to be more substance. I don't know. There needs to be some quality of life changes that'll help a lot, and obviously there just needs to be new content and stuff like that added. They're supposed to. They did just add the Void Gauntlet not too long ago. It was like in the last patch or the patch before, which was kind of nice, I guess. Like, it was a weapon that I was kind of looking forward to using, but at the same time, I think that if they just add more weapons and give more variety and stuff like that, it'll be a lot nicer. So I don't know. Don't have anything else to say. I don't want it to be like super negative, but the game definitely has a lot of problems. The fact that it's only $40 is nice. The fact that there's no subscription cost is nice. So you can play the game just whenever you want to. There's no like, you know, fear of like, oh man, I paid for a subscription, I got to play this game as much as possible to get my money's worth out of it. So yeah, I think you know, while I'm, you know, after the new expansion comes out for 14 and I've already done all of my stuff in that, or I just get bored of it, or whatever the case may be, I can always come back to this game and see how much they've updated it and everything. So I think if $40 isn't that much to you, or you can pick up the game on sale at some point, I definitely would recommend it. It's definitely a fun game. There's a lot of cool stuff in it, but I don't know, not perfect by any means. So that's pretty much it. Don't have anything else to say. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.